Ladies and gentlemen, now we are reacting to the Gurud Groovy Zombies retrospectives. I'm very excited to see this. It's by my boy The Smith Plays. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to Pat. He's a great guy. He has some great videos, especially this Zombies retrospective series. It's actually amazing. I love it all. So please make sure you check out The Smith Plays and you leave a like on the video. I'm gonna do it before I even watched it because I know it's gonna be fire. But other than that, I might not talk that much to the chat right now because I want to focus and watch this video whole through and all of that. And I know Oxai King is about to be happy to see this one because now we get to see the real reaction of what people see about this map, because Gurud Groovy is overrated, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Alright, I'm gonna lurk. Have a good stream. Thank you, Kaiser0, and have a great stream, or watch me, or have a great rest of your day. Either way, man. I'm so happy that you made the DE Easter egg solo. Take care, man. So let's hear it. The Smith Plays, Patrice, Pat, whatever. Take it away.
It has been known by many names.
Let's go.
But I know it as Stalingrad, City of Blood.
Gurud Groovy is the fourth and final premise character
so
map, and oh boy, does it mark a shift in tone. Whereas Zetsubo was bleak, somber, and dull, Gurud Groovy marks a return to the old days of COD zombies with vodka, over-the-top gameplay, and dragons? Played it simple, Gurud Groovy is the Black Ops 1 Zombies map of Black Ops 3. In fact, Gurud's roots actually go back even further, seeing tons of inspiration drawn on from Derice. It's bold and is still to this day the last original Ether Zombies map. Gurud Groovy is a great map for sure, but despite all this, I've always personally felt that it's not quite as good as some make it out to be. While amazing, I've come to believe that it isn't quite an equal with the likes of Jason Blundell best. And so today we'll be skydiving into the map, doing a full analysis and seeing just where it lines up in the current scheme of Treyarch's catalog so far. And lastly, before we get into it, today's video is sponsored by Honey. What is Honey? Well, Honey is the free browser extension that scours the internet for promo codes and automatically applies the shopping card when checking out. In terms of saving money, it's basically your best friend for online shopping. Works. And when you're up to save money to get Honey today. But make sure you follow that link. And now, let's get into it. Gurud Groovy.
There we go.
He makes a huge first impression,
all of us know what
the opening
is.
shot of the cutscene being our main four characters flying out of a portal to the theme of Motorhead. Ace of Spades blares in the background as they try to secure Peter McCain's parachute and land safely. We get to see our original Nikolai in a giant mech suit destroying zombies. They even cut the background audio to make it sound like Nikolai is listening to that song as he fights. There's amazing shots of dragons, and more so than anything, I think the tone is just set. The Gurud intro tells us that this map is returning to the old school days of zombies. It's going to be open. It's actually so sad that all the intros to the maps on Black Ops 3 is so amazing. Expect the Reisendrache. The literally best map has the worst intro ever. That is so mind-blowing to think about, but let's move on. Over the top and almost caricature-esque. Intro cutscene is one of the greatest of all times and probably fires me up more than any cutscene ever. And even if you don't agree with me on that, at the very least, for the first time since Shadows, we're given a great introduction piece. And so overall, I just think it does a really good job of getting players excited to go into and explore. Look at that dragon, dude. Now, despite that crazy intro, I wouldn't say that Gurud is quite as over the top as it initially makes you feel. It lets you know that these moments are there. But I wouldn't go so far as to say that Gurud completely returns to the themes and motives of, say, Keynote or Toten. Gurud still has some serious tones which are experienced mainly through the soundtrack and storyline. But still, it does both. With wild shouts from Ultimus Nikolai about vodka in the opening rounds, there is definitely a vodka. So I think ultimately Gurud tells you that it's going to have a little bit of both. At times, it's going to be the most over-the-top that Black Ops 3 will get, but it's still dynamic enough that it can throw some seriousness in when it needs to. Most importantly, I think the over-top brashness of the intro goes to introduce you to a return to old gameplay. Gorod Krovi sits as the most Black Ops 1-like non-Black Ops 1 map, and so I think this is what we should look at first.
Ooh.
So while Der Eisendrache often gets most of the praise for being the simple, beginner-friendly map, I think Gorod really goes unnoticed in this area. DE has a simple power, pack-a-punch, and initial wonder weapon, but it gets pretty complex from there. And I think Gorod, despite actually being really hard and having a complicated Easter egg, is more of a straightforward map on the gameplay side.
Really?
So let's dive deeper, shall we? So Gorod Krovi is basically complicated Derice. I know that might sound weird to you, but it will make sense. Weighing it at a modest 23 Nocturne Totens, Gorod Krovi is actually...
Yo, let's go, Nocturne Toten counter, we love it.
the smallest Black Ops 3 map.
Really? Gorod Krovi, one of the smallest Black Ops 3 maps. Sorry about this, but you know, ads is ads, you know what I'm saying? I should buy YouTube Premium, to be honest with you. Because I'm giving away free ads at this point.
And so the map basically has 3 wings or branches. There's the middle and main Dragon command area with Sophia and the Easter egg screens. To the right, there is the library-like looking supply area, and to the left, we have the industrial tank factory.
I guess.
Now, looking back to Derice, do you notice how the map has a similar structure? There's the middle wing, which is the catwalk area, complete with teleporter
I can
and quick
see
revive.
it in one
and
way.
then there are the other 2 side branches, also with teleporters. 3 wings which branch off of a central main area that is connected to spawn.
I can see
Gorod
that.
Krovi might be bigger and a little bit more complex, but it essentially has the exact same layout. Overall, I feel like Gorod Krovi is laid out decently, but not the greatest. Tank and supply are connected rather awkwardly to the rest of the map, and it's hard to get from them to spawn. Overall, the map is laid out pretty well, but I've always wished that there was a direct route from those 2 side wings to spawn. Now, things get even more interesting when we look at Pack-a-Punch, however. Derice and GK also share the same Pack-a-Punch structure. So on Derice, you must go to one of the wings, activate a timer, and return to spawn to link the pad. Gorod Krovi has a slightly different end goal, but it plays very similar. You insert a command rod into a machine at the wing area, which is the equivalent of going to the teleporter.
Wow, I didn't even think about
Instead
that.
of then heading
That's
to
pretty
spawn,
similar.
however, you must defend a Groth module at a random location. So do you see the similarities? Each have 3 total phases.
I can
Each
see it now.
require you to head to all of the wings of the map, from which fast
Yo,
movement to
L4
another
Siege,
location is
bro.
then required. The last similarity is most striking, however. On both maps, those 3 wings then serve as a fast travel to Pack-a-Punch. On Derice, one can use a teleporter to quickly get there, which very closely mirrors the Dragon Ride, which, by the way, may I add, is a very cool cutscene.
Yeah.
Is one of the many ways Gorod is
That
over
is
the
so
top.
cool, that
now,
ride.
moving to Gorod's
I love it.
inspiration from Black Ops 1, I think the biggest thing is its placement of the Wonder Weapon in the box. Box Wonder Weapons is one of the most defining features of Black Ops 1, and I think people were excited for this to return. While I personally prefer the buildable Wonder Weapon, I think it was a smart choice for this map. For new maps, we hadn't seen a Box Wonder Weapon since Buried, and so BO3 was in need of a map with this simple design. Now, as far as the Mark III goes, it's basically an overpowered weapon that makes you incapable of dying until it's not. The Mark III is ridiculous, but only for the first 40 rounds. And while a lot of people have their criticism with this, that it's not good enough, I actually think that it makes sense. The purpose of the Mark III is to be really good for everything except high rounds. Up until about round 40, its black hole makes it so you can hardly die while camping, so it's OP in that category. What does make it balanced though is that it has this fall off. You can't rely on camping with this thing through to round 100, and so that actually makes it pretty fair, especially because Gorod is the hardest Black Ops 3 map. On the other
Not as
hand,
good
though,
and cool as Mark II, but still
it
pretty
does
cool.
certainly serve as a huge crutch weapon for early rounds and Easter eggs, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I would say at the very least, it's not a free round 70 plus like the Ice Staff, Stormbow, Sliquifier, or upgraded Apothecan's Servant. Now, Gorod Krovi also steps it up with all sorts of new items and features. The Guard of Fafnir is the first huge improvement over the original shield. The Rocket Shield of
100% the Gorod Krovi shield and / Revelation shield, but Gorod Krovi shield best shield.
Shadows had been an
100%.
interesting upgrade, but it did prove to be very practical. Whereas Garage Shield shoots fireballs, making it both
Yeah,
super
it's so
helpful
cool.
and incredibly true to the theme of the map.
Yeah,
We
it's
also
so
see the
cool.
Dragon Strike, which is acquired from completing the 4 lockdown stages in the Pack-a-Punch house. It basically serves as a targeted artillery strike that attracts all the zombies to your area that you lay it down on, essentially making
cool
it
feature.
a once per round monkey bomb. But on top of that, it's cool. It actually gets a dragon to come over the map and breathe fire on the area you're targeting. And even more so, it can be upgraded with some relatively simple steps to become that much stronger. Oh, I should also mention that the shield can be upgraded as well. Now, Garad also brought in some new weapons. We see the L4 Siege, a powerful
L4 Siege, everyone.
explosive weapon, the NX Shadowclaw, which when pack-a-punched can
Shadow Claw as well, so trash. But they are cool when you pack-a-punch them, don't get me wrong. But
revive down
still
allies,
trash.
the FFAR, a beastly upgraded variant
FFFR, however, one of the beast's most OP.
variant of the FAMAS,
I
and
love it.
most
The
iconic
FAMAS.
of all,
I love it.
the return of my sweet, sweet PP.
Yo, the PP! Ah!
Yes, H. And so
Yo.
like Setsubo,
That was so hype when you saw PPSH. That was.
Garad does a nice job of adding in
I love
weapons
that
that
weapon.
actually incentivize you to hit the
It just
box.
makes the map
It was
so
a
much
major
better.
problem on DE, but especially with the Mark III being in there, there is ample reason to actually go for the box on this map. And actually considering how important the Mark III is to the Easter egg, perhaps even too much. Now, GK also has 2 new enemies. The Russian Mangler is your classic mid-round boss. Relatively on the weaker side of these bosses, these guys spawn quite
Yeah.
a bit more often.
He's cool and all, but compared to the Margwa Panzer, I don't know. He's probably better than the Trasher on Setsubo, but I don't know. Panzer and Margwa beats it in my
To
opinion.
make up for their lack of power.
It's not that
well,
cool.
I can't say they're anything.
It's cool for the
amazing.
map.
They fit the map pretty
But,
well.
yeah.
Valkyrie drones are the second more interesting addition, and I can't say their presence is all that well regarded.
Yeah, why is there like some robots? Let's hear about that. But
I think these enemies are mostly disliked because of their erratic behavior. Valkyries are pretty annoying and mostly just end up delaying
I
rounds.
kind of think they're fit to the map because there's some mechanic about the map also. So
Way.
Kind
Furthermore,
of
I can't
fits.
really say that they feel appropriate to the map. I just
Nah,
see
but-
no connection as to how they tie into Stalingrad or Dragons. Now, even more interesting, however, is
I don't know.
Garad also has equipable items for the first time ever. Dragon Wings reduce explosive and fire damage. There's the Half,
Yeah.
which reduces damage taken and increases damage delivered to
So cool.
Valkyrie drones. And lastly, the Mangler helmet does the same thing to its respective enemy. Overall, they're an amazing set of
Oh,
new
cool.
items and probably the most original addition to the map. It's also worth
Cool.
noting that Garad Krovi added time trials. These basically existed to challenge you to race to rounds in intervals of 5 for special melee rewards. Achieving any of these rounds in a certain amount of time would give you very cool weapons from multiplayer. And while I can't
range.
say that the melee weapons themselves were overly useful, the challenge themselves provided a really fun and new way to play
Yeah, they were so
zombies.
cool.
Looking forward in the Black Ops Cold War, I really hope that we get a more
Oh, the
structured version of
sword,
this.
yo!
And so with all
Black Ops 3 had so many cool like melee weapons for multiplayer. It was
this
insane.
in mind, Garad
And
sits as
having them in zombies as well on this map in particular, yo, it was so cool.
a real
We didn't do it often, but it was
strong
still cool.
gameplay-based
A
map.
cool
It
addition.
can be played as a camping or training
So
map and
cool.
is good for both beginner games or more advanced high round stuff. Garage just
cool.
has so many different ways to play, and so in terms of gameplay, I think it's always stood slightly above DE. There's just something about training and camping strategies that feels very reminiscent here of the old days. There's enough here so that it feels fresh,
Almost
but again, I would argue that a lot of this map is based on the philosophy behind Black Ops 1. That is, of course, unless you want to take a crack at the Easter egg, which we're now going to.
I'm wondering to see what is about to see about the Easter egg, man. Because
The Gora Krovi Easter egg is not like anything we had ever seen. This is because the Easter egg is most focused on gameplay, and so it provides a much different experience to anything we had ever seen. The Easter egg technically starts with the turning on of power. From here, players are able to do the Graph modules and access Pack-a-Punch. And so then the next step is the lockdown, where you go through 3 waves of defending the area from enemies, and then a final wave where enemies come from all 3 areas. Overall, it's pretty engaging, but I do find it to be quite drawn out. It takes almost exactly 5 minutes, which I think is just a touch too long for an opening step. You're just getting going into the flow of things, and the lockdown feels like it halts your progression. I think it might have been better if they only had 2 first stages and then the final. This would shorten it to 3.5 minutes while still bearing the weight of the step. Now, from here we get to the most drawn out section of the egg. The egg. Acquiring the
egg, yo.
Gauntlet of Siegfried is a tedious process. So first you pick up the egg at the infirmary and head back to the main map. From here you need to place it at a nest and wait for a dragon to come breathe fire on it. This itself can take forever depending on how long it takes for the dragon to come. From here though, it gets even worse, as now you have to go through 1 full round for the egg to cool. You then have to go through 3 trials.
If you know my run about doing those trials on the egg, is the most stupidest thing ever, man.
Lateral, melee, and flaming zombie kills.
Yeah, the dumbest challenge
Flaming
ever.
kills are first, so this means that you must instantly then wait for another dragon. And then from there, you can finish the easier penetration and melee kill step. Now lastly, once this is completed, you must then take it back to the infirmary.
So dumb, those challenges are so dumb. Why would you do challenges on your egg?
Do another quick lockdown step to wait yet another full round before you can get the gauntlets. Honestly, this process is longer and more drawn out than any single thing in Zetsubo. At the very least, you're spending 5 rounds on the egg, but that can easily turn into 6 or 7 if you make any mistakes. The only real redeeming feature of this process is the fact that the gauntlet is amazing. A beastly power fist combined with a baby dragon that fights and collects things for you is a
definitely not better than the
and I think really the reason people don't complain here as much as they should with this step is because the reward makes it worth it. Now from here, it's on to the first real official step of the egg. This is turning on the generator downstairs of Pack-a-Punch in the infirmary to begin the valve step. From the perspective prior to this egg being beaten, back in the Z-House days, I would actually say that the valve step was hands down the best puzzle ever put into zombies. So, the perfect Easter egg puzzle is one that is near impossible to initially solve, but once
the sad part is that you have to use a website to crack it. Or you don't have to, but
understood can be done by anyone. The valve step is the perfect example of this. This was a great step because it completely stumped the community, thereby prolonging the length of the Easter egg
It's a cool
hunt.
step.
Nobody knew how it actually worked, and so it was really just guesswork. Eventually, however, after the egg had been beaten, someone devised a formula that solves the puzzle for you, and they realized that it's actually a pretty simple algorithm once you understand the way the valves are connected. And this is the beauty of the valve step. Ridiculously challenging to begin with, but now it's incredibly easy, assuming
but I still use the website
to go to. I think the fact that you need to go to Milo's website just to beat this is maybe a little bit much, but considering what the step did for the egg hunt and how easy it is to actually do, I think it works out pretty nicely. Now from here, players must finish trophy collection. A very weird step in this egg. There are 6 seemingly arbitrary trophies located around the map. While their collection is altogether quite easy, it's another step that I believe deserves criticism. Mainly because it doesn't really serve a purpose. Like, you need trophies so that Sophia can show you what to do on the next set of steps. Sure, it adds an element of collectathon to the map, but I don't know if it's what Gorod Krovi really needed. And at the very least, I've never heard anyone say, I sure do love the trophy collection step. Anyway though, from here, we're meat and potatoes of this egg. Sophia's Trial of 6. This is probably the most polarizing step of the egg, so let's go through each one before I give my opinion. Although random, one of the first 5 possible steps you can get is the Russian Mangler step. This step can be annoying as it's hard to actually
I had some hard time on this one.
Find him. I failed the step many times simply because I went to the wrong area of the map, and by the time I got to the other side, it was too late and the step was over. But assuming you do find him, this step is super easy. All you have to do is shoot his arm and he starts running towards you.
When you first find him and the zombies isn't there, so
I think it's a pretty
but
easy
other
step
than that,
once you know what you're doing. Now, next up, we have the Valkyrie drone. This is the first of Sophia 6 that leans heavily on the Mark III. With that gun, all you have to do is spam the left attack that creates the ball to slow down zombies, and it's just dead easy. However, if you don't have the Mark III, this is a genuinely awful step. It is so hard, as you need to round up the zombies and slowly move the drone while making sure not to damage him. While easier as a team in any form, this is a rough step. Again, unless you have the Mark III. Now, next up, we have the bomb step. One of the most...
You don't know the stress I had on this bomb step.
Steps in this egg. The bomb step is unforgiving. If you press the wrong bomb, every player next to one...
That step is the most evil, most stressful step ever.
Instantly downs.
Doing that solo?
In reality, however, there is a super easy workaround. Just
it's
stand
easy
in the room if it's not your bomb's turn. So while unforgiving, it's not that bad, especially since you can pause to write it down in solo. I like the unforgiving nature of the step, and I like the pressure it creates. What I hate about it, however, is that in solo, you usually have to run around the entire map twice. That's it. I'm literally just lazy. And like with DE's Wisp step, I hate running around the map.
It's kind of like the
because,
DE
again, Garand does
step.
have a bit of an awkward layout. Now, next up, we have Gersh. First of all, I should mention that I absolutely love the bit of storyline we get here, especially with how Gersh even recognizes you from Ascension. As for the step itself, again, this leans entirely on the Mark III. If you have it, you can do so much damage to him so fast that he doesn't even move once you find him.
Well, mine fucking did, Pat, because I was struggling so hard on this step.
Destroys the entire purpose of the step. And then, as you probably guessed it, if you don't have a Mark III, this step becomes very challenging. It's certainly doable, but solo players will have their work cut out for them.
Bro, I struggled so hard with that step. I don't know why. People said, just spray it. I did. It moved, fam.
They get unlucky with the box. Now, lastly,
probably
we have
the
Graph module step. This is by far the best of the first.
Yeah, that's pretty easy and cool.
This step creates an immersive challenge with a rewarding goal. Really, I feel like the purpose of these modes are meant to be mini games, and this is the only one.
But all the challenges are so easy that when you have a regular Mark III, I can't imagine doing it without regular Mark III. I can't imagine it.
It actually really feels like that. It's especially cool because you actually have to use your baby dragon to go get the piece from it. And while the Mark III again makes it dead easy, doing it with or without a team is overall still a really good time. And always last, we have the lockdown. Now, this should be a fantastic step. It should serve as the climax of the Egg's second act, mirroring the first time you visited the Pack-a-Punch and got your Dragon Strike. Except now, with a beefed up kit, it can send more at you to make for a super intense time. Sadly, however, it's not. The game does not throw all that much at you, and even if they did, there is a massive exploit. The stage won't progress until you defeat all Manglers, and so if you leave just one alive, you can run around the main floor until the download process is over.
I killed them all because I can.
But it's just annoying that it can be ruined with this simple exploit. And so after this, you will
I didn't need no exploit. I killed them all. You know what I'm saying?
Finished Sophia 6. So as a whole, Sophia's Trial of 6 is either extremely easy or infuriatingly difficult. There's really no in between. More so, the fact that when you fail and finish a full round to try again only makes this worse. This kills all flow of the egg, and when something as simple as an electric cherry burst can ruin the Valkyrie or Mangler step, I think the
Tell me about it, Pat. Tell me about it.
Consequences are too high here. Beginner players can find themselves in deep water quick, only halfway through these at round 20. Like, in comparison, the flag step on Shadows can be attempted infinitely, with ammo being the main restrictor. I just don't see why Gorod could have had the exact same thing. Still, however, this entire problem is solved with Mega Gobblegums or a Ray Gun Mark III. Whether that's a good thing, I don't really think so. Now, from here, you basically are on to the
boss fight. Boss fight, ladies and gentlemen. Oof. Can't wait to hear him talk about the boss fight, because
boss fight, which I am incredibly split on. Let's look at the positive side first.
Ooh, he's split. Ooh.
This fight was the best spectacle we'd ever seen in zombies. Dragons, giant mech suits, what is not to love? As a concept, it's cool, and in the DE Retro, I even said it was the best. But I should clarify what my intention behind that statement was. What I meant was that Gorod has the coolest boss fight, but it's not the best. And that's because...
yeah, because you can use in plain sight and literally kill him in 10 seconds. Boss fight done.
So, the GK boss fight is always brought up as a...
It's so easy with in plain sight, it's a joke, if you think about it. Other than that, when you do it back in the day, when you didn't use those bubblegums, it was hard. Don't get me wrong.
It's the best Black Ops 3 map. But the fact that it's really easy is alone enough to make it overall second best in DE. The dragon fight, while again cool, is itself ridiculously easy with the Ray Gun Mark III. You simply need to sit in a corner and spam the weapon until the dragon becomes vulnerable. From here, it's simply a few shots per sequence, and then you're done. Compared to a keeper sequence, which even itself can be easy, the dragon doesn't even have waves of juiced up panzers or anything in the like, so it just feels inconsequential. There is nothing that should be able to kill you here. And then after the dragon fight, you have...
Oh, it's so dumb. I think when I did it, it was so easy. It's so dumb.
A normal gobblegum can make this a 10-second
it's a normal bubblegum.
fight is enough to, again, really diminish the overall greatness of this fight. Despite it being an amazing spectacle, the gameplay itself is just super disappointing. And I think it's the boss fight that actually has aged the worst on this map. Unlike Zet, Gorod has gotten worse with time. And so with all that in mind, we're
because back in the day when it came out, it was amazing. It was amazing because it was hard. You did it with your friends. You didn't know about the good strats. Now you have a normal bubblegum in plain sight. You can kill him in 15 seconds. It doesn't matter.
Pick up on the slack on an otherwise imperfect egg. And to be honest, I think it actually does a pretty good job of that. GK does three major things for the storyline. First, it ties up some loose ends by explaining some of the side characters. We got Peter McCain, we got Gersh's fate along with Sophia, which actually is important because she plays a huge role in the next map. Next, Gorod finishes the four-character quest arc. Our Curtis crew get the fourth and final soul, setting up the stage for our finale map. And most importantly of all, well, at least coolest, we finally get introduced to Dr. Monty. And while he doesn't play a huge role here,
I am that duck.
I think his introduction is perfect. He's aggressive in meta despite still remaining extremely ominous. Good, because it is. While I don't really want to talk about his big revelation in BO4, in BO3 he is an instantly likable character. His monologue after the fight does a great job to set the stage for BO3's finale as well.
I'm
Dr. Monty. And later on, I am that duck.
Hello.
Hello.
So nice to see you all.
So nice to see you.
Now let's also make sure to talk about the ending cutscene. Probably my second favorite of BO3. Gorod ends with a very sad and moving piece. We learn that the main reason for Nikolai's alcoholism is due to their wife being killed in the fallout of the war. This is a very powerful moment, as in a single stroke it makes the most stereotypical character of the Ultimus 4 instantly dynamic. No longer is he just the funny drunk Russian guy, but now all of a sudden it's sad, truly depressing. It also does the best job of representing the polarity between the two characters. You can almost apply it to yourself. Ultimate Nikolai is the worst version of you, the version version of yourself that you would become if you gave in to all of your worst tendencies and tried to avoid truth. Primus Nikolai serves as an amazing foil to that personality as the best version of you. He symbolizes who we could become if we are to do our best and aim for a higher purpose. So it's sad, symbolic, and it represents the end of this giant 4-person quest. So, in conclusion, I think this is a map that hasn't aged as well as some may think. That is
he got a KRM shot to the face. He dead, man.
Bad, however. People often relate the word underrated to bad, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Underrated simply means that it's not as good as the masses' general consensus.
Let's see what he rates it. So, if you guys aren't caught up, he ranked Mob of the Dead and Origins 9.6 out of 10. He rated Shadows of Evil 9.7. He ranked DE a 9.9 out of 10. He rated Setsubo a 9.3 out of 10. When I've seen this, I think he's gonna rate it 9.5. Probably. I think so.
Census, and I believe that's exactly where GK falls. It's a fantastic map, but it's just not as perfect as people claim. Overall, I believe Gorod Krovi is played best as a map purely for the gameplay. It draws on a BO1 formula with a Juris layout and modern Black Ops 3 features to make a truly amazing experience. It's also got great storyline and character development with overall amazing visuals and a grand sense of atmosphere. It's in Stalingrad. God. Really, my only reason I say the map is overrated is because I find the Easter egg and boss fight to be just not that great. It's trying to be a hard egg, but so many steps can be exploited with the Mark III, and so a lot of these steps ultimately land as tedious. Still, however, the underlying ideas of Sophia's 6 trials is really neat, and the boss fight is a grand spectacle. It's just unfortunate that with age, GK's egg has become entirely exploitable. And so, all in all, I really like this.
Let's hear his Pat.
And despite my criticism,
let's
it's
hear
still
it.
good enough to make it into our top 5. So that said, my final rating for Gorod Krovi is a 9.4 out of 10.
9.4, just an S tier. Yo. Yo, he didn't even give it double S. Yo.
10. S.
He didn't even give it double S. Oh no, Oxide King is sad. No way, he didn't give it a double S. He gave it an only S. He gave it 0.1 higher than Setsubo. Oh my god, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. Because it's not better than these maps, but damn. Damn, not even a double S. Oh, I thought it's gonna be like 9.5. And I would have said 9.7, no, 9.8. I said that to Norway Gamer, like, back in, like, a few weeks ago. But when, like, he explained everything in this video now, I understand why he could say it's a little bit overrated. So, damn, the Smith plays Patrice 9.4 in the normal S tier, yo. I'm sad that yo, Oxide King is crying right now. I wanna kill him, nah. So that was a very interesting episode for sure. Next up is Revelations, and oh boy, I can't wait for him to do that one. So other than that, as always, check out the Smith Play, subscribe to him, watch the series, love the series, Pat. Keep going, and I can't wait for Revelations. Let's go. My vodka, he's